Mount Everest towers above Mingma Sherpa's village in Nepal's Khumbu region. He is proud to head the local government in the area that hosts the world's highest peak, but he's also quite worried. Our mountains have begun to stink, he tells me in a frustrated tone. Human poo on rocks and the ice field is now visible, and some climbers are falling sick because of that, he adds. Rubbish piling up on Everest and other nearby peaks is not a new problem. But with the number of climbers increasing every year, their excrement on mountain slopes has made the issue more disgusting. One international mountain guide I spoke to called the South Col an open toilet. That's the last camp from where climbers begin their summit attempt. So, the Pasang Lamu Rural Municipality that Mr. Sherpa heads recently announced a new rule. Climbers must bring back their feces to the base camp. Some climbing groups do use biodegradable bags, but most do their business out in the open into dug pits or into the cracks of crevices. Usually it remains under snow or ice and it doesn't degrade due to extreme low temperature. But there are windswept locations where snow can't accumulate and piles of poo can be seen all around. And now, a warming climate also means ice and snow melt fast, thereby exposing human waste at some locations. More than 3 tons of human poo is believed to exist between Camp 1 and Camp 4, the South Col. At the base camp, at 17,598 feet, where climbers spend most of the expedition period, separate toilet tents are erected and their poo is collected in barrels underneath. But at higher camps, there's no such facility. So, it's March and the spring climbing season has begun. Mr. Sherpa's team will now sell bags to climbers at the base camp. And they will check that mountaineers return with their bags filled. If not, they will lose their deposit of $4,000 they are required to pay. International mountain guides I spoke to have welcomed the move because they know Everest is under tremendous environmental pressure these days. The world's tallest peak has been summited more than 8,000 times since Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay climbed it for the first time in 1953. And now, a record number of mountaineers are reaching the top. Last year alone, it was over 600. But they also take support staff with them, which means there were more than 1,000 people on the mountain. There have been cleanup campaigns in recent years, but they have focused on lower camps. But cleaning higher camps has been extremely challenging because of the altitude and harsh weather. Nepal's government in the past has introduced several rules to manage the base camp and expeditions on Everest and other mountains in the region. But most of them have not been implemented properly, mainly because there's no one on the mountains to enforce the rules. In 2019, at least 10 people died on Everest as hundreds of climbers had to queue in a human traffic jam as they reached the last ridge to the summit, all trying to take advantage of a narrow window of good weather. I investigated the issue then. I found out that of the nearly 60 liaison officers the government had appointed to accompany the climbing teams, only 5 stayed at base camp until the last days of expedition. Many did not even turn up. Mr. Sherpa of Pasang Lamu Rural Municipality said the central government of Nepal had always been missing on the mountains. That would change now, he added. More than 15 years since Nepal became a federal republic, abolishing its monarchy, local authorities have continued to assert themselves. The new rule requiring climbers to bring down their feces to Everest Base Camp is seen as a snapshot of just that. Although Mr. Sherpa and his team admit implementing these new rules in the difficult and dangerous terrain like Everest could itself at times prove to be a Himalayan task.
Naveen Singh Khadka.